Right, and we are live on Facebook. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Stuart Calder. I'm VP for Sales and Marketing at Netready. And today we have a special guest in this interview room. We're here with the author for MLM for CEOs, Mr. Richard Sletcher. We're speaking about his vast experience within the MLM space, and it's a pleasure to have him here today. Richard, how are you going?
Yeah, cool. It's really weird to be on this side of the camera for a change. It's strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing good.
Good, fantastic. So Richard, I think let's get straight into it.
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of the questions that you'll be getting is with your vast experience. I'd love to just dive into your background and just understand a little bit more about your work within your traditional business as well as the MLM space. So, I mean, can you give us a nice in-depth background?
Yeah, well, we won't go too in-depth.
Okay, please, yeah.
So we'll leave all the criminal activities out.
Please
We'll
do,
just do the
yes.
straight stuff.
Thank you. Okay, lovely.
Yeah, so look, I come out of a traditional business background. In the sort of early 80s, I started an audiovisual company, a recording studio basically, which we did a lot of advertising. We did things like Homer's Mum and Royco and Tastic Rice and Cameo Let's and Legs Do the Talking and all of those kind of things. Hundreds of adverts that you would actually recognize if you heard them.
Yeah.
We also did movie scores. So we did the music for Out of Africa was actually done in our studio, which was I wasn't involved in the actual recording of it, but the company who did the music hired our studios to do it. So that's kind of was my start in the business realm. That recording studio then became a full-fledged advertising agency called AdMakers, which is still going today.
Yeah.
Very successful ad agency. And during that time, we also started a company called Burco, which is a courier company. And so that became one of the biggest courier companies in South Africa. So my sort of background is in traditional business.
Yeah.
But I kind of got introduced, during the advertising agency days, I got introduced to the concept of multi-level marketing. And a guy walked into my office. He was looking for somebody to do some advertising for him, and he then explained the whole MLM play to me and how people signed up, and 2 people became 4, became 8, became 16, and I was like completely blown away with the whole concept. So we started a little MLM business called Funtime.
Yes.
And I've never seen anything like it, to be honest with you. It was a little bit like winning the lottery. It was in the days before sort of online computers and internet and all of that stuff. Internet was not a thing at the time at all. So everything was, you know, it's hard-coded, so to say. You had your application that run the system. But we didn't have online payments, so we would get literally shoeboxes of money coming in. So people would come into the office literally with shoeboxes full of cash and application forms, because everything was done in writing.
Yeah.
So it was actually quite amazing to see. Our supplier, we promised him that this thing was going to go ballistic. And he said to me, yeah, he can handle the volume and all of that.
Yeah.
And of course, we signed up, and within 6 weeks, we signed up something like 2,500 or 3,000 people to Funtime. So it was crazy chaotic. And we completely crashed everything on his side. His call center couldn't handle the volume of queries.
Yeah.
His systems couldn't deal with the volume of bookings that he needed to do. And he basically pulled the plug on us. He said, listen, we can't handle the volumes, and he pulled the plug on us. So there was a huge learning curve there, because now we had thousands of people who'd received these holidays at Funtime who now couldn't go on their holidays. And so, well, that was a chaos. So I paid some pretty hectic school fees.
I can imagine.
In that.
Yeah.
And so after that, it took me 10 years before I had the guts to even look at multi-level marketing again. It kind of burnt me a little bit there, yeah. But obviously it was hugely successful. If I'd known how to tie down the clients and the suppliers, and if I'd known a lot of things that I didn't know at the time, you know, I would have been able to do a much better job, and we would have been able to push through on it. But of course, there was so much I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I'm a A-type personality, so I didn't believe that there was anything I didn't know. I thought I was completely confident I could deal with anything that came along. But obviously, you don't know what you don't know, and so it was a huge learning curve for me.
Yeah.
Then in 1999, we'd sold all of our businesses.
Okay.
So I sold my companies and I became a waiter.
Okay. Yeah.
So I bought a whole lot of property, and then I waited for the money to come in every month. Great job, waiting.
Yes,
it's absolutely one of my favorite jobs.
Okay,
So I'd become a waiter, so I was waiting for my money to come in. And we were busy renovating one of our properties, and it was chaos. So I was sitting with my wife at the Wimpy in Claremont.
Yes.
And we were sitting discussing our business and what was happening and what we should do next. And I was reading the paper, and there was an article in the paper that said that in South Africa, 22% of our population was unemployed. 22%. Wow. Okay, so of the current, at the time, it was about 47 million people in the country, 22% not employed. So somewhere around, what's that, 10 million people out of work.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, not only were 20%, 22% not employed, but that was if you hadn't given up hope of finding a job. So the paper said if you gave up hope and you stopped looking for a job because there was no chance of you finding one, you no longer counted.
Yeah.
So those people who'd given up hope didn't count in the system, and said to my wife, look, somebody needs to do something about this unemployment problem. And she said, well, you're sitting on your backside doing nothing. Why don't you do something about it? And I thought, well, yeah, I wonder what I can do. And at the time I was invited to a company, you might have heard of them, called Amway.
Yes.
And
yes. Once or twice
so I
before.
went to this Amway presentation, and the guy said to me, I said to him, what's this about? He said, no, don't worry, it's a business presentation. I'll show you when I get there. So I went along to this presentation, and it was Amway. And they put this whole presentation on the board. They showed you how you bought the products, you sold them at bought them at a discount, sold them at a profit, and that there was a whole thing that you can create a sales team. And I thought, well, obviously this is a multi-level marketing play. I know a bit about multi-level marketing from the 80s when I started my first MLM business. But I thought, well, this is an amazing micro business. Can you imagine? If you had a system in place, you could take a product, plug it into the system. You can take a person, plug it into the system, and suddenly this person has got a business opportunity. They buy the product at a discount, they sell it on. So I thought, wow, this is a huge opportunity, massive opportunity to eliminate unemployment in the country. Wow. I thought, well, 2, 4, 8, I went and did the sums, 4,655,000, got these huge numbers. I thought, well, we've got the answer.
Yes.
So I thought what I would do is I would write the software that runs these businesses.
Fantastic.
Okay, so I wrote a software package called Netready.
Yes.
And I got these developers involved. I was a software developer at the time. I'd done a course, Learn to Program, and I got these developers involved, and we sat down and we scoped out what we wanted to do. And they said to me, okay, 6 months, done and dusted.
Yeah.
3 years later, we were finally finished. So I've discovered again, school fees.
Yes.
Software takes 3 times as long as you think and costs 5 times as much, just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2003, we were finished with the system more or less. And we got stuck into now trying to market it. But the problem is the only experience I had in MLM was a failure.
Yeah.
So when I spoke to clients, they were asking me, well, what do you know about MLM? And the only experience I had was like, okay, well, I failed at an MLM company. I can tell you about that. And so it was difficult to get people to buy into the software.
Yeah.
So what we then did is we started Acorn Kids, which is an MLM company that's did extremely well and still going today.
Fantastic.
And the idea there was to learn about MLM through Acorn Kids and to actually find out how to do it and then take the business to market. And Netready's been going since 2000. It's very, very successful business now. So everything seems, the whole journey I took through my business life seems to have culminated in the Netready environment. And as I said, the company is doing extremely well. Very excited about it. Yeah.
No, Richard, that's incredible. You've got such a rich history. Your resume is gleaming. So it's fantastic that you've ended up within this MLM space. So really, really great. Another question I have is, recent years you've been developing this MLM for CEOs. I know you like to call it an information authority for multi-level marketing. Yeah. It's a free resource for all of the Netready clients or anyone that's looking to just learn a little bit more about the MLM space. What is your future goal with MLM for CEOs?
Well, look, our fundamental goal was to try and solve the problems of unemployment.
Yeah.
And this is not just a South African problem. This is a global problem.
Yes.
If you have a look in the States and see how many homeless people there are, you have a look around the world, so many people just on the breadline or under the breadline and or completely unemployed. So I created MLM for CEOs so that people don't have to use Netready to get into multi-level marketing. I don't want to force them now to use Netready. So I wanted to make this a completely free resource.
Yes.
So the idea is what we're doing is I'm pouring out 20 years of insights into the MLM for CEOs site. with the goal of trying to help people to establish MLM businesses, to go out, start them, run them, and succeed with them, and help people put food on the table and a roof over their heads.
Yeah.
In the process, obviously, we've helped people make obscene amounts of money, just crazy amounts of money in the space. But the whole idea there is really to have a free resource where you can come along. If you need to know something, that we're blogging about it, that we got videos and webinars about it, that we've got podcasts, we're interviewing top people in the industry, so that not only do you kind of find out how to do it, but you can also see how other people are doing it, how top people in the industry are doing it. And we're going to continue with that. I mean, MLM for CEOs, I foresee that being a big part of my sort of my work more, moving forward.
Yes.
I'm super excited about it. We've helped a lot of people there.
Yeah. That's fantastic, Richard. Yeah, thanks very much for that. Another question I had was, I've been approached by so many of these MLM businesses and with this business opportunity, and they say, Stu, this is a very easy business model. You can get going straight away, and you can almost sit back, relax, and let the money come in. Now, is that the case?
Yeah, no. Look, this is not a side hustle.
Yeah.
You can't really run one of these businesses.
Yes.
On the side.
Yeah.
Okay. The average MLM company, and I'm just talking globally, and I'm talking about the median. I'm not talking about if you take the biggest company and the smallest company, come up average. The average successful MLM company worldwide has around 30,000 agents.
Okay.
Okay. They are doing, on average, around $50 million a year in turnover. Now, there's only two kinds of companies, the ones that succeed and the ones that fail. There's no real companies out there that are sort of limping along. Because if you don't get momentum, the thing dies. So if you do get momentum, it goes vertical and you grow fast. So you've got to be serious about this. When you set it up, if you want to succeed, obviously, then you can try it as a side hustle, because I can almost guarantee you it will fail. But if you want to succeed at it, you need to take it seriously. You need to think of it in terms of, I'm building a $50 million business. That's going to be my annual turnover.
Yeah.
And if you had a $50 million business, how much effort would you put into it?
Of course.
So you really got to focus on this thing. It's a serious undertaking. It's incredibly lucrative undertaking. And there's so many cool things about it, if I can just put it into perspective. With MLM, number one, cash upfront business.
Yes.
So stock doesn't leave your office until the money's in the bank. Number two, your agents fund everything. They pay you an administration fee, which funds the overheads. They're paying for all of their brochures, leaflets, posters, advertising material. They contribute to the company's advertising. They go out there and they market the business. All of your costs, like 99% of your costs, are attached to turnover. So they're variable. So if the company does well, yes, the costs go up, but they're variable. And its cash is already in the bank.
Yes.
So you can generally get some sort of supply agreement where you pay on 30 or 60 days, and you're getting the cash up front. So the financing of this business and the funding of this business, because of that, it's a cash-funded business. So I say to our clients, listen, you've got to work at it. You've got to make this your 100% focus. But I promise you, if you do it, it will be the biggest business you ever ran. I don't care what company you have. You can be you can have the highest volume of retail sales in the retail industry. You can be doing whatever you want. This business will be bigger. And not only bigger, it'll be profitable by an order of magnitude more profitable.
Yes.
So the kind of thing is that if you're going to take this on, it just makes complete sense to do it seriously, to take it seriously. We've provided all the information of what you need on MLM for CEOs. So you can go and check out what you need. There's actually a mind map that you can download there. And if it's not there, Stuart, I'm pretty sure that you're going to have it downloadable.
It will be up there
in short order.
Yes.
So the guys watching this will be able to go and download it. But the issue is here that this is a massive opportunity. And not only do you generate incredible profits, but you also help thousands and thousands of people to put a roof over their head and food on the table. You provide opportunity, the likes of which no other industry provides.
Yeah.
An average MLM company, 30,000 members, 50 million turnover, is paying out somewhere around 25 million, 26 million in commissions.
Sure.
Now, how many how many companies have got a salary bill of 26 million
not
a
many.
year? Not many.
Not many.
So that's what makes this just so absolutely amazing. So yeah, it's a serious pursuit. I think that was your question.
That is, you answered it perfectly. Yeah, thanks for that. And I think for those listening and watching this Facebook Live event, the key elements that we need to discuss. I mean, what would you say the key elements are that you need to have in place in order to form that base for the successful MLM business that you're going to be running?
So the key things to be successful kind of thing. Well, there's a couple of things. Okay. The first thing, you've got to have a proper product.
Yes.
So your product, people must buy it because they like it and they think it's a good value exchange.
Okay.
So if you're selling thin air for 1,000 Rand a tin, well, that's not a fair value exchange, and anybody's going to be able to see through that. You need to sell a product where people think fundamentally, wow, this is an awesome product, and they would buy it regardless of there being a business opportunity or not.
Yes.
So that's the first thing.
Okay. And so just to interject there, in terms of margin on these products, what would we be looking at?
No, you've got to have a decent margin.
Okay.
So, I mean, that we need to look at each product independently needs to be taken and had a look at. So it depends. Is it an annuity product? Is it not? Is it a digital product? Is it a service?
Yes.
Is it a physical product?
Okay.
And so every product can have its own margins, and some, like you could sell, for example, cell phone airtime.
Yes.
Now you've only got a 10% margin there, but the power of cell phone airtime is that the guy's buying it over and over again. So once he's a client, you're guaranteed of getting long-term sales. I mean, we had a client of ours, Vox Telecoms, who sold voice over IP. And in their second year, they did $57 million in billable minutes.
Wow.
Second year. Wow. From a cold start.
Yes.
So the issue is that you can sell products, and they had thin margin, paper thin.
Yeah.
But you do $57 million, even at 10%, there's money to burn.
Sure.
So you can have a thin margin or a huge margin, depending on what your product is. But it depends. I mean, you need to look at your product and say, is it an annuity product?
Yes.
Is the guy going to get ongoing revenue?
Yes.
Can you give him the first month all the commissions and thereafter spread the commissions out over time? So, that's every product has got its own sort of story to tell, and it needs to be looked at closely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Thanks for answering my question there. Sorry. And going back to those key elements, you mentioned the product as being one.
Yeah. So that is the critical and most important thing.
Okay.
If you don't have a proper product, people will not sell something they don't believe in.
Yes.
Let's just start there.
Yes.
And if you do sell something you don't believe in, there's a term for that.
Yeah.
It's called con artist.
Sure.
Okay. So nobody wants to be a con artist. So if you think you can start an MLM business and run it successfully on a product that is actually subpar, well, you're mistaken. You have to have a good product. So that for me is the absolute foundation of everything. The margin is an issue because you need to have margin. If you're not making any money, then obviously you don't have a business either. So margin is an issue. The second thing that you need, and this is the most expensive decision you make, is what compensation plan to run with.
Okay.
And this is where I see so many people make a huge mistake.
Yeah.
And I made that same mistake when I started Funtime back in the 80s. I'd heard about this other compensation plan that this guy had showed me. And so that's what I thought the compensation plan should be. I had no idea whether the company using it was happy with it.
Wow.
I had no idea whether it was driving the right behaviors. As a matter of fact, I didn't even think of it. I thought it was a way to give away my money. In actual fact, it's a way to drive behavior. And so what landed up happening is I implemented it, and I was changing it every week because I was seeing all the holes that I'd left, and it was just a nightmare. So every time I spoke to my agents, I was telling them about the new compensation plan and how we changed it. And it's a disaster.
Yes.
And so the second thing, you need to make sure that you get professionals in to help you with the comp plan.
Okay.
Because remember, if you're doing $50 million a year, you're paying out approximately $25 million in commission. So this is a $25 million decision you make here.
Yes.
So having the right compensation plan is absolutely crucial. Now, if you've got no experience, or you're trying to copy somebody else's compensation plan, you need to stop, put on the brakes. You can't make a $26 million decision like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy. So your compensation plan for me is the second most important thing, because it's your biggest expense. It costs more than your product. The third thing is your IT partner.
Okay.
Now, this is something that I cannot stress enough how important this is. If you get the wrong IT partner, it can cost you your business. Because two things happen. One, if the business succeeds, it scales rapidly. So it grows at incredibly fast pace. And if you don't have a system that can scale, that can handle enterprise level transactions, you're in deep trouble. So what we've seen over the years is people get into the space, they don't have the money to buy an enterprise system, so they go and buy some cheap system from wherever. Now, if the business fails, it's not a problem. Any system is good enough because there's no transactions going through.
Yeah, with you.
But now what happens is the business succeeds. They get traction. And so they hit critical mass. You got 2,000 agents who are out there beating the bushes, and this thing goes vertical, and you go to 30,000 people in 90 days or 120 days, and the systems can't cope. So now you go looking for another system, but it's too late. The systems are falling over, they're crashing, your people are unhappy, it's causing chaos in the back office, nobody can fulfill orders, it's just a nightmare. Now you go and try and move on to a new platform, and I describe it like this. It's like changing a fire hydrant without turning off the water. Because remember, I mean, imagine what's happening. Orders are pouring in.
Yeah.
They're just pouring in. Every minute you're getting orders. They're just coming in. Now you've got to try and migrate onto a new system. And you've got to switch over, and you've got to make sure the new system has not got any errors, calculating commissions right, doing pricing right, doing everything right. And then at some point you've got to try and switch this one off and switch that one on. It is an absolute nightmare. We've done it. And I highly recommend that you avoid it at all costs, because it literally can sink the business.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened to one client that we did it with. There was so much pressure on their systems that they just couldn't switch over, and their systems, which were failing, caused them to crash before we could migrate them onto a new system. So the business went under, just disappeared overnight. Their agents, because just remember, your agents, you're not paying them a salary, so you've got no leverage. These guys are an army of volunteers. So they don't like what you're doing. They don't complain. They don't phone you. They just go and join another MLM company.
Yeah, sure.
They're gone.
Yeah.
So your system starts failing. They start feeling less than confident in the business. They go and sign up with another company.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Sure.
So on Monday, they're with you. Tuesday, they're gone. You don't know why. And these guys, when they go, it's just like the network grows. Chinese whispers down the network, boom, everybody's gone in line.
Yeah.
One of the clients that we had, what they decided to do is they decided to put their product into retail.
Oh, yeah.
So 30,000 agents, more or less, put the product into the retail space. Literally, within about 3-4 weeks, they were down to about 3,000 agents, and they never recovered. They pulled the product out of retail, but of course the agents just said, hey, listen, we're not competing with you in retail space. And they were gone.
They lost the confidence.
You know, they didn't phone up the company and say, hey, listen, we're leaving. They just went.
Yeah.
Next month, the admin fee didn't get paid. They were just gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So those are the three things. So when you're choosing your IT partner, so let's go back. Your product, obviously, most people have a product. They know what their product is. It's just got to be good value for money.
Sure.
Compensation plan, you need to get help with. You can't make that decision unless you're experienced. And I mean, you've been involved in 5 or 6 companies at company level. Then I wouldn't actually design my own compensation plan. I'd get specialist help.
Okay.
And then your IT system, you need a partner who actually understands MLM. Because this is not about just calculating your commissions.
Yes.
It's about growing your business. And there's a lot of people who can work out some sort of hack to calculate commissions and hopefully keep up with the growth. But you need somebody, a partner, who actually understands the industry and is going to go out there and help you succeed. And so that's kind of when I say to the guys, 3 key issues: product, commissions, and IT partner. Those are your 3 biggest decisions. You need to get those right out of the blocks.
Yeah. That's fantastic, Richard. Yeah, that's incredible advice. So really, thank you for that. You mentioned retail. So do you want to just touch on the sort of versus the retail business versus the MLM space? I mean, there's a number of hidden costs involved in retail, as we understand. I mean, should we dive into retail versus MLM?
Retailer, we've got some bad experience with retail.
Yeah.
When I was running the ad agency, we had a client who had a product. I won't mention the product.
Okay.
And I won't mention the company, but they got into the big retailers.
Yes.
Like the big retailers, the national retail chains. And the first thing is that the retailers absolutely screwed them to the wall on price.
Yeah.
So their margins were literally paper thin. The guys, then they paid them on 120 days. So the deal was they would pay them on 120 days and they had some margins. Okay. Then the company had to contribute to the retailer's advertising budget. They had to pay for shelf space. And if they were at eye level, it was more than if they were down at the bottom. They had to pay for gondola ends. So then if the retailer paid them on time, 120 days, they got a 2.5% on-time payment fee. There was just like percentages all over the place that the retailers had their hands so deep in this guy's pockets that they could touch his toes. It was just crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, so no problems. The guy goes and he puts all of the stuff on the shelf and he breaks an ad campaign because he had to do an advertising campaign, and the advertising campaign, all the newspapers and all the brochures, there was no online at the time. It was all sort of below the line, print-based advertising and television. Product takes off. 2 weeks in, all of the stock is getting sold out. So they phone him up, hey, we need more stock. He pumps another $2 million of product into the retailers. 2 weeks later, hey, the stock's all sold out. He's now another $2 million. So he's now sort of $6 million in. He's got like masses of stock out, but he's only 6 weeks in. So he's got another 6 weeks before he gets paid out for his first load of stock that went in.
Yeah.
At that point, his advertising stopped because he didn't have any money to continue with the advertising. His service providers were saying, okay, we gave you 30 days, you need to pay us.
Wow.
The big retailer hadn't paid him. But then something worse happened. By the end of the second month, the retailer said, listen, sales are drying up. We're not happy about this. If things don't pick up in the next week or two, you can come uplift your product. 2 weeks later, they say to him, listen, things are not working. The stock is literally sitting. It's not moving. Either you've got to do a massive advertising campaign or you've got to uplift your stock. He said, well, I can't do a campaign and I can't uplift the stock because I don't have the money to go around and collect the stock. I don't have any cash. They said, that's fine. We'll destroy all the stock. So we'll take it to our guys, we'll uplift it and destroy it. And then we'll take the money that it cost you to destroy it off what we owe you.
Oh, so
he's gone.
He made nothing.
So, no, worse. He lost everything. He couldn't pay his suppliers. His wife left him.
Wow.
He lost his house, he lost his car, he lost everything. Gone. Completely and utterly bankrupt by this. So retail, if you've got the capital behind you to deal with it, retail can be profitable, no question about it. But if you have a look at the guys who are really succeeding in retail, it's the big players. You know. The little guys, they just are hiding for nothing in that retail space. Now the difference in here is in the MLM space, everything is cash up front. You're not having to worry about advertising because your network does the advertising and marketing. There's no overhead cost because the network pay an admin fee, which covers all your overhead costs. So you've got zero overheads, cash up front. All of your stock that sits on your shelf is yours until the moment you sell it, at which point you get paid for it immediately. So you've got this business that will grow organically, and because you've got all of the cash, you can fund it. And because it's not price sensitive, you're making margin. You control the whole value chain, right from beginning to end. You decide on what the retail selling price is, and you're not arguing with anybody over it. That's the price. The agent gets convinced how to sell that product and obviously goes out and can sell it at that price. And so you have none of those problems in the space. And of course, it's organic. So literally you can grow a 30,000 person network within 12 months, you can have 30,000 active members who are selling your product for you and generating, as I said, $50-60 million a year.
Brilliant.
So, you know, in terms of comparing the one with the others, it's just, I wouldn't dream. I wouldn't dream in a million years. If I had a product, I wouldn't dream of taking it retail. Not in a million years. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I'm sure those people who've been in this space, they can relate to everything I've said.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. You definitely answered my question there. As soon as these businesses start scaling up, when they get to the 30,000 mark, we mentioned the element you mentioned there was training.
Yeah.
I mean, how important is it to train your people? Who trains the people as the networks grow and they go deeper into the compensation plan? What sort of facilities do we need to use in order to be able to train these people to the nth degree?
Yeah,
Is it
training
important?
Training is a big thing.
Okay.
Because your entire brand rests on the agent who's actually talking about it.
Yes.
So your entire brand sits there.
Yeah.
So if you don't do proper training,
Yes.
then what's coming out of this agent's mouth could be complete garbage.
Yes.
They could be doing more damage than good. And on top of it, if things aren't working for them, they might actually leave the business and then badmouth you to everybody, because nobody's going to admit that they failed because they're useless. They failed because the company's useless, or they failed because whatever. The compensation plan was pathetic, or the product was pathetic, or whatever. Nobody takes responsibility for their own failures, or very few people.
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure that the guys who get trained, the agents get trained in absolutely in-depth, specifically about the product. Because if they do leave, you want them to leave believing heart and soul in the product. You want them to be complete ambassadors. Even if they're not working for the business, they need to be completely and utterly in the tank for your product.
Yes.
Now, it's difficult to do because somebody in London can sign up somebody in Amsterdam who signs up someone in New York who signs up someone in Sydney. So how do those people get trained is really difficult. So you need, whatever system you choose, needs to have a full online e-learning platform, which you then will put your e-learning onto, either via video or downloadable media, whatever, and then some mechanisms to test that they actually understand it.
Okay.
And then generally what I suggest is that you tie those tests to promotions. So if a guy signs up, he can be a candidate IBO. He then does his initial training online. He does the test. If he passes it with whatever percentage you decide on, 80%, he then gets promoted to IBO and he can start earning commissions.
Okay.
So you lock the training into his progression through the business.
Yes.
So I kind of say to my clients, listen, training's everything. You really need your guys to be well trained, and the only way to do it on a global scale, even on a national scale, if you were just taking a little country like South Africa, to get from Durban to Cape Town to Bloemfontein to wherever in a place like South Africa, really difficult.
Yes.
And it would be extremely costly as a company to be able to bounce around to every single person who needs to get trained.
Of course.
So that's the first line of training. The second line is that you need to teach your leaders to train their people.
Okay.
Because the first one is theoretical. This is how you do it. The second one is going into the field and actually doing it. So part of your training is to train the trainer.
Yes.
Train your top leadership, who will then teach their people, who will teach their people, and so on and so forth, so that they can literally physically go into the field with them and show them how it's done. Because the concept is, I do it, you watch, we do it together, you do it, I laugh. I mean, not
yes,
really.
I can.
You do it, and I sort of give you feedback, and then you'll do it a few times with me present, and I'll give you feedback until such point as you can do it yourself. And so there's a hand-holding process there. And once you get that right, that's called duplication. And once you get that duplication right, and your people are training their people, then that kicks in, and you land up building this powerhouse business that lasts for decades. I mean, companies like Avon and Amway, they've been 50, 60, 70 years they've been around.
Yeah.
So these businesses, if you do the training right and you make sure your leadership is in place and understands the business, these businesses can last generations.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Amway will still be around in 100 years.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Yeah, and I love the line you say is that if you can't do it yourself, how do you expect your network members to do it?
Yeah.
You have to be able to.
That's a big challenge with companies that are starting out, Stuart.
Okay.
A new company who's getting into the space.
Yes.
The first thing is that generally the owners of the companies are A-type personalities.
Yes, okay.
And A stands for asshole. Not really.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? They are drivers. They are financially driven. They are analytical people. They didn't get their business to where it is without being those kind of people.
Yeah.
But generally, they're not great with people. Okay. So that is a key issue here. When these guys start, they've got to be good with people. And so either I say to them, either you've got to be good with people, or you need to hire somebody who's good with people.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. So that's a key issue there, because you're going to have to. You're leading an army of volunteers.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the key thing there. So when you're getting started, you need to look at this thing and say, can I do this? If I can't do it, I need to find somebody who can.
Yes.
You know.
Okay.
I lost track of your question, though. Was that the question?
That
you
was
asked?
the question. Yeah, that's perfect. So is that the jockey? Would you call him the jockey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The person, you need your CEO.
Yes.
You need your training officers. You need all of those things who will come in time. But the most important guy is the guy who's going to stand up in front of the people and inspire them.
Yeah.
Because you can't drive them without inspiring them. They've got to be inspired to do this. They're volunteering, you know.
Wow.
So they're not there. They buy into your dream. They buy into your product. They buy into the lifestyle. They buy into the whole idea that they can change their lives. I mean, let's just take it back a step. So what is this person? Let's have a look at this person who's joining your MLM business.
Okay.
Let's look at him for a moment. He went through 12 years of school, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Where he was told to sit down, shut up, face the front, do what you're told.
Yes.
He then came out of school, potentially went to university, another 5 years, where they took the slightly broad education he was getting and they narrow it down to a pinpoint. You know, he's now becoming an accountant or a lawyer. So they narrow his knowledge base down to a pinpoint, so that his understanding is such a small vertical, it's such a small slice of life that he's focused on. Now, he works for a boss, probably.
Yes.
The boss pays him just enough to stop him from leaving. Just enough to stop him from leaving. I mean, why would the boss pay him any more?
Sure. Yeah.
Is the boss trying to get this guy to retire financially independent? Yeah. I don't think so. What does the boss want to do? He wants to retire financially independent. So he's going to pay this guy just enough to stop him from leaving. This guy then spends the next 20, 30, 40 years working for companies like this. In the old days, you would work for one company. Nowadays, you bounce around because there's just no single job.
Sure.
At the end of 40 years, he retires, definitely not financially independent. Then he lives the rest of his days hoping he dies before his money runs out. So that's the life journey that the average person is taking. Now, when you bring that person on board, what you're selling him is not only are you selling him on your product and your compensation plan and your company, but you're selling him on a way to change his fortune. Because, and I need to stress this, being an MLM is not an easy, quick, get rich quick scheme. It's not.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to earn, let's say, take Gail, what's her name?
Gail Reynolds.
Gail Reynolds.
From Avon.
Yeah. Okay, she's from Avon, yes.
Yeah.
So last year she earned, in commissions, she earned £7 million. How much was it? I think you mentioned.
Yes, 7 million, that's right.
So she earned £7 million last year.
Wow.
Do you think she got there easily?
No, definitely not.
I mean, do you think she had to get up in the morning and work her guts out?
I'd say so.
And when she started off, she knew nothing. She had to learn the skills. She had to learn how the business worked. She had to work her guts out. So one of the key things here with this is the jockey needs to inspire people to the point where A, they understand that there's a lot of work to be done, and B, that they're inspired enough to actually do the work.
Okay.
And so this jockey, his incredible position is he needs to get these people to buy into the dream, because they can set themselves financially free. This is a business where there's no upper limit. You know, if you're in a job, your boss decides how much you earn.
Sure.
You're going to work 8 hours a day.
Yes.
You're going to earn your whatever $1,000 a month.
Yes.
And that's it. And you might be able to force him up by threatening to leave, but at some stage he's going to say, well, go, I'll get somebody else.
Yeah.
With this business, yes, you have to work equally as hard. You've got to work your guts out in it, no question. But where's the upper limit?
Sure.
You know, Gail Reynolds, I mean, she's on MLM for CEO, so she's worked. Okay. The audio on that podcast, not great.
Okay.
But it's worthwhile listening to her story, because she's built an empire there.
Yeah.
You know,
£7 million. £7 million in commissions in a year.
It makes me go goosebumps, eh? It's actually epic.
It is brilliant.
So again, getting back to your jockey,
Yes.
You've got to be able to inspire that kind of commitment.
Okay.
Because nobody succeeds without commitment. And if you can't inspire the commitment, your people just dissolve in front of your eyes. You know, so it's an inspirational position. Now, this goes back to me when I was running Acorn Kids. That was my big weakness, is I'm an A-type personality.
Yeah.
So I'm not great with people. So I really struggled. I struggled. I mean, at one time, we had 10,000 ladies in our team.
Wow.
Now, I struggled with one lady in my life, my wife. Can you imagine 10,000? I battled.
Yeah, sure.
Not because they were not wonderful. They were wonderful people.
Yes.
But I'm obviously not good with it. Now, what would have probably been the best thing I could have done, which I didn't do, was to get somebody in play who was great with people and get them to do that stuff.
Yes.
You know, in the end, basically, I sold the company and it's still going really successfully today. But obviously, there was an opportunity there that was missed by me because I didn't get the right jockey in to actually run the business. You know?
Wow.
Again, A-type personality. I think I can do it all myself. No problems. 5 years down the line, maybe I was not the best person for that position. You know? Maybe.
But those are the learnings.
Well, exactly.
And this is what MLM for CEOs is for. Let's not reinvent the wheel here, guys. Let's use the content that has come from someone that's gone through the school fees, learned the hard lessons, providing all this content. And for the listeners out there, I urge you to also go and see MLM for CEOs. Go through that site, because if you are going to be launching an MLM business, I mean, it's a fantastic resource.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the closing comment that I just want to make is that you speak about the 5 drivers of your Netready.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's your product, your service, it's the social element, it's the commissions that are getting paid out. The other 2 are, the first one I want to touch on is recognition. Everyone wants to be recognized for their achievements within your business. Everyone in this world wants to be recognized for something.
Yes.
How important is recognition within the MLM space?
Well, in my opinion, I think it's more important than the commission.
Okay,
so there's a couple of reasons for this. Okay. Number one, about 75% of all people who are active in multi-level marketing are ladies.
Okay.
And it's not right.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they are not appreciated for the work they do.
Sure. Okay.
You know, I don't know why it is, but if you are a mother at home, guys don't appreciate their wives the way they should. If you're working in the workspace, for the most part, women are not getting the recognition that their male counterpart would get. And it's very difficult. And I mean, I see it in real life. My wife takes the car in to get repaired.
Yeah.
When she tells the guy what's wrong with the car, he doubts what she's saying. If I say the same thing to him, the same words, it's, oh yes, yeah, no, I can see how that would happen. You know, it's that kind of thing. There's a definite. Now, so what I found with Acorn Kids is that the ladies were not getting recognized in their workspace, at home, etc. But when we recognized them for what they were doing in our business, it just switched them on like a light. It was just amazing to see how they blossomed. We had one of the things we had is we had an award called the Woman of Purpose.
Yes, okay.
Which was an award for somebody who'd done something exceptional within the social space, within our social awareness and social responsibility space. And it was amazing how people just went out of their way to do amazing things to get that award, to be recognized. And I mean, it was just a little trophy, but it was being called up in front of the audience, everybody telling them how wonderful they are, taking that trophy and putting it on their shelf, Women of Purpose.
Yeah.
You know, so recognition for me is key. And a lot of people spend a huge amount of time working on their compensation plan and how that compensation plan fits together and how each percentage gets paid out and what needs to happen. But you need a similar kind of strategy for recognition.
Okay.
Because you need to recognize everybody where they are in the business. For example, let's say I recruited you into a business.
Yes.
You should get a call saying, hey, welcome to the team, Stuart. It should be a personal call.
Yeah.
And it should come from my upline and my upline's upline and my upline's upline.
Agreed. Yeah.
I should get a call saying, hey, Richard, well done. That's amazing. You sign up Stuart. My upline, whoever they are, let's say John, should get a communication, an SMS and a phone call saying, hey, Richard's team seems to be cooking. Well done for what you're doing there. And he should call me and say, well done, Richard. I see you introduce Stuart, and John, the upline, needs to call you and say, hey, welcome to the team.
Fantastic.
Now, do you see how that recognition is working in the business?
Yes.
We call that up motivation. But
Okay.
unfortunately, the guys don't put in place strategies for that.
Yeah.
They don't have strategies. And little things like, let's say, if you sign up 2 people, at the next convention, you say, everybody signed up 2 people, round of applause. Everybody claps for them. How many times in your life have you got a round of applause from a massive audience?
Yeah.
Seldom.
Yeah. Not often.
Okay, let's have everybody signed up 4 people in a single month. Stand up. Round of applause.
Sure.
Right, who's signed up 6 people? Now that's pretty good. Fewer people. Right, I'd like all of those people down to the front of the stage. Let's get you up on the stage. I would like you to please stand up, get the whole audience to stand up, give them a standing ovation.
Brilliant.
Now, how many times in your life have you received a standing ovation?
Wow. Yeah.
Very seldom.
Seldom.
Now, if a guy stands up and says he signed up 2 people and he didn't, who cares? Recognize him because that's what he needs or she needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if a person comes and walks onto the stage, signed up 6 people, give them a standing ovation.
Oh.
Now, next time around, everybody wants to be on that stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can see how important recognition is.
Yeah.
And those people who walk across the stage get a standing ovation. I mean, that's pretty epic.
Yes.
You know, now if you have a lot of people, like some of our clients got 30, 40,000 people in the team, maybe you've got 100 people to 200 people to 300 people who signed up 6 people. Well, then what you do is just get them to walk across the stage.
Yeah.
And they'll climb up the stage, walk across and walk out. And while those people are happening, the entire audience is giving them a standing ovation.
Yeah.
Cost you 0.
Yeah.
So recognition's a wonderful thing. A couple of things, if I can just say on recognition, it should never cost the company anything. Recognition is something that you do to recognize the person's activity. It's not an incentive. There's no payment. They don't get a prize. Nothing. Recognition is, hey, you guys were wonderful.
Yes.
You're the top salesperson. You're the top recruiter. You did over 10,000 rands or $1,000 worth of sales. You did over $5,000 worth of sales. So you're the super deluxe triple star salesperson. You signed up 6 people, so you're a triple pace setter. You reached this rank because you did these things.
Yeah.
So all of those things are recognition, cost the company nothing, but make the person feel amazingly validated, feel wonderful, and obviously keep them involved and engaged in the business.
Yes. I often liken it to, so my wife made me read this book. It's the 5 love languages. Okay. So I often liken it to that of the workplace, where the words of affirmation is like recognition. You have to recognize your people so that they feel valued, so that they'll go out and do exactly the same thing the next month or the next year, and they love being part of your business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Validation. That's exactly what it is. So recognition is validation.
Yes.
You're validating the person.
Okay.
100%.
Yes.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Okay, you're going to love this. As we bring this interview into land, we talk about
Are we
incentives.
landing? What's the time? How long have we been going? Good grief, an hour already.
As we bring it into land, we talk about incentives. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're working on an awesome incentive right now with an existing client. I mean, these guys are doing incredible stuff. How important is incentives to drive and motivate your people? Is it something that you recommend as strategy?
Well, the thing is, first and foremost, that 20% of your network, okay, you got 100,000 people, 20,000 people are going to be highly, highly competitive.
Yes.
Now, how do you drive highly competitive people?
Sure.
It's very difficult to drive them with money.
Yes.
They're not your social type animals, so you're driving them with the social strategy is not possible. They don't respond necessarily well to recognition. They don't care about the badge on their chest. You know, maybe they like the product, you know, but those competitive people, if you want to drive them, you put a competition together. And there's people who will walk across glass.
Yes.
Literally walk across glass to achieve those competitions. We ran one in Acorn Kids, and the person, one of the people who won our incentive, did more sales, first of all, in the last months of the incentive than she had done in the entire rest of her career with Acorn Kids, added up.
Wow.
And did more sales than anybody else did in that period, and she did it all in the last sort of 2-3 weeks. And why? Because she wanted to win the trip. We took a crowd of people to Mauritius.
Wow.
And she wanted to win that trip so badly that she literally burnt rubber to make it happen. Now, obviously, there's strategies around incentives. You don't want to have a one winner takes all.
Sure.
You want to drive as many people as possible to go. You want to take all of your top performers. Incentive travel is like the number one form of incentive. So taking them away to an exotic destination.
Yes. Okay.
And the key is that they win this exotic destination, they get on a plane together, they fly to some destination, they're on this beautiful tropical island somewhere in the world. But what's key is you've got all of your top performers sitting in one room. And so what you then do is you spend the 7 days, every single day you have 2 to 3 hours of training every day for that 7 days. Because they're not just winning a trip, a holiday, what they're doing is they're winning an incentive which takes them away and gives you the opportunity to really train them aggressively. Because when they come back after that 7-day getaway, you want them to hit the ground running. They need to have set goals. They need to understand what their goals are. They need to know what their next 3 months is going to bring them. You need to have really geared them up. So incentives is incredibly important in terms of driving your competitive people.
Yes.
But it's also super intensive training opportunity that will take your top people and get them like firing on all cylinders.
Yes.
And of course, you then got this beautiful story.
Yeah.
You film it, videos, whatever.
Yes.
At the next national convention, you play that video. There's a 3 or 5 minute video, goes up on the screen. Everybody's clapping and cheering, and you can see them swimming underwater and doing X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And then you announce your next incentive trip. And of course, it can really happen. So now let's go and really make it happen for you.
Exactly.
And there's an entire strategy. Look, again, recognition needs a really planned strategy. Incentives need a planned strategy as well. We call it the 120-day golden cycle.
Yes.
Which we use to drive the incentive. That entire pattern is driven over and over and over again. Every 120 days, you start a new push with incentives. And so there's an entire strategy. You need to know where you're going, what you're doing. One of the cool things is that Netready is connected with companies that provide incentive travel at crazy low prices for our clients.
Yes.
So they're obviously wanting us to bring all up their people to them.
Sure.
And as a result, they're prepared to give like crazy low prices. One of our clients now is about to launch an incentive. He's booked the entire ship. He's going to be taking 2,500 people, 2,500 people on a 7-day cruise. Now, can you imagine the vibe that these guys are going to have?
That'll be amazing.
He's going to be training 2,500 people. When they come back, they're going to be so fired up, they're going to just be wanting to hit the ground running. But can you imagine, they're flying them to the port.
Yes.
They all board the ship together. There's banners and posters. Everybody's wearing the same caps and hats, etc.
Yeah.
They get onto the ship. They do a 7-day cruise. During that time, they are wined and dined and just treated like royalty. Now, who wouldn't want to be part of that?
Of course.
And can you imagine the impact that has on the rest of the business?
Yes.
Can you imagine the impact it has on those people who went?
Yeah.
So I cannot even begin to tell you how important incentives are. And again, on the day that you launch, you need to have a properly nailed down strategy. As important as your product and your compensation plan, your recognition, your incentive, and your social strategies need to be absolutely nailed down so that when you drop the hammer on the business, it's just all systems go and everybody knows what they're expected to do.
Yes.
That's another thing I need to just mention. You cannot run an incentive or recognition without telling people what the recognition is and what they need to do to achieve it.
Yes.
Because otherwise, how do they know what to do?
Of course.
So you need to say to them, this is the incentive, and this is what you need to do to achieve it. And everybody who achieves this goes. Well, this is the recognition. You sign up 2 people, we're going to call you a pace setter.
Yes.
You sign up 4, we're going to call you a double pace setter. You do over $1,000 sale, we're going to call you a star salesperson. You do 5,000, we're going to call you a super deluxe salesperson.
Yes.
Whatever it is, I mean, I'm just popping names off the top of my head, but whatever it is, you need to have strategies in play. It needs to be measurable. They need to know exactly where they are. So your IT systems need to be telling them exactly where they are in terms of achieving them. Need to be giving them badges on the website to say, hey, you achieved this incredible thing, etc. So all of that stuff is critically important
Okay.
in terms of running an MLM business. Yeah.
Wow. And allocating funds for this, how do we go about doing that?
Well, remember, it's a cash upfront business.
Yes.
So in your compensation plan, when you design your compensation plan,
Okay.
traditionally you would put 5% away
Okay.
aside. Remember,
Yes.
recognition costs you nothing. That's
Yes.
free.
Yes.
But in terms of incentives, you would put 5% of your turnover,
Okay.
your commissionable turnover.
Yes.
If you've only got a 10% margin, you don't want to be giving 5% away to incentives. That would be
Sure.
crazy.
Yeah.
So you'd give 5% of your commissionable value,
Okay. Okay.
and that becomes the margin.
And obviously, as you're scaling up your business and more funds are coming into the accounts, so you're just adding to that pool of incentives, which means you can bring more people into this trip.
Well, exactly. This
Okay.
is how our client is doing it. He's taking 5% of his turnover
Yes.
over a 3-month, well, it's over 6 months.
Okay.
In actual fact, he's doing it in two blocks of 3. So he takes 5%, he puts it into a kitty.
Yes.
The system, in this case Netready, will calculate how many people can go and will add them into the leaderboard.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. And then obviously we'll communicate with everybody. Hey, John, you're coming with us on the ship, but I just want to let you know that Stuart only needs 6 points to bump you out of off the ship, and he'll be going in your place. You need to get going, and vice versa. So there's an entire strategy around that.
Wow.
In terms of
Sure.
and the 5%, as the turnover grows,
Yes.
more and more people can come
Okay.
with. So that's how
Great.
he's managed to get it to 2,500 people,
Brilliant.
because people are joining in all the time.
Yes.
Because the turnover is just doing this.
Yeah.
His turnover goes vertical. I mean, at the moment, he's the fastest growing company in South Africa. As a matter of fact, I did an interview with him on the MLM for CEOs.
Yes.
His name's Tembela. So,
Yes.
I mean, you can go and have a look. I think it's under webinars on our site.
Okay.
You can go and have a look. And again, just take a look at this guy. He's a good businessman, no question. But he doesn't have a magic wand hidden somewhere.
Yeah.
He's just a normal guy
Yeah.
who's taken this on as a route to market, and is just absolutely killing it.
Wow.
I mean, his business is doubling in turnover every month.
Yeah.
And he's
Wow.
been doing that since January. Double, 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 double.
Sure.
It's just crazy. I mean, just crazy. He's an amazing guy. I love him
Yes.
to bits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's an S curve. You speak about the S curve. I mean, he's in his growth phase at the moment.
Yeah.
So he's doubling turnover month on month. I mean, does it get to a point where that slows down? I mean, it can't just carry
Yeah,
on like
look,
this, can it?
obviously mathematically it's impossible to just continue on an exponential curve.
Yes.
So all businesses, if you have a look at all successful businesses, you will see there's an S curve.
Yes.
Now, if you look at traditional business, the S curve is very gentle slope, and it
Gotcha.
takes a long time to get to sort of a stable, large income. The difference between traditional businesses and MLM businesses, you hit critical mass and you can go literally. We've taken clients to 30,000 agents in 90 days.
Yes.
One of our clients, we took them to 30,000 agents, sold 20,000 funeral policies in 90 days.
Wow.
So that vertical curve, that vertical growth is the difference between a traditional business and an MLM business in terms of growth. But obviously there's a point at which this thing flattens out, and now you have a traditional stable business which is growing at a linear fashion.
Yes.
Rather than at an exponential fashion.
Yes.
Now, the beauty is, though, let's say you start off in London
Okay.
and you sign up 10,000 people or 20,000 people in the UK, and you're busy selling your product, and let's say you're doing, 20, 30,000 pounds a month. Is that about right? 300, 400,000
Yes.
pounds a month. Sorry,
Yes.
I was out of pounds there. Rands, pounds, dollars. What the hell? So let's say you're doing 300,000 or 400,000 pounds a month in turnover.
Yes.
You now go to your 20,000 people and you say, look, we're launching in Germany. We want to do our founding member launch in Germany. Who do you guys know?
Ah.
Now, obviously, you've got 20,000 people in London. They're
Yes.
bound to know a bunch of people in
Yeah, in Germany.
Germany.
Yeah.
So what happens is your S curve starts in Germany, but it starts from a higher level because you're not
Yes.
starting from a zero base. These 20,000 people probably between them can sign up 10,000 people, probably. I
Sure.
don't know.
Yeah.
But let's say they only sign up 2,000 people. You're at critical mass in Germany, and your S curve in Germany starts. Then once Germany's going, you say we're going to launch in France. Who do
Yes.
you know in France? Now
Yeah.
you've got 60,000 people between Germany and London. So
Wow.
when you launch in France, again you're starting from a higher point.
Yeah.
So taking these businesses internationally, that S curve, you can just keep on building on that S curve, and of course the company's own overall turnover just stretches. That's how companies Amway and Avon and all of these guys do it.
Yeah.
Amway, when they launched in South Africa, they said to their global network, who do you guys know in South Africa?
Yeah.
And they were out of the blocks. Like there were queues of people around the block trying to join Amway.
Wow.
You know, I stood in a queue at Amway back in the day when they launched. Like it was miles long, people wanting to join Amway.
Yeah.
So, you know, once you get it going in one region,
Yes.
expanding it globally is actually just a case of rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
In each country.
Yeah.
Now, there's some issues you have to get behind, what the laws are there, what products you can and can't sell. Do you need authorization on your products? Do you need authorization for the MLM company?
Yes.
Some states in the US that you actually need to register your MLM business, etc. So there are logistical stuff that you need to deal with.
Yeah.
But once the logistics are out of the way, boom.
Wow.
And I mean, I don't know if there's anybody watching today from sort of the sort of established countries like, you know,
The States.
the States or the
Yes,
UK, whatever.
yes.
But the emerging countries are experiencing the most incredible growth in this space.
Wow.
You know, the Africa grew by 60%. You know, I think they went from 1.1 billion to about 1.7 billion in sales. So the emerging markets are incredibly valuable and definitely a place to get going. And this is one of the areas that we kind of specialize in.
Sure.
As you know, we specialize in helping our clients in the emerging markets.
Yes.
You know, we already have the payment gateways in place. We have the mechanisms to move money in and out of the countries, etc. We can help our clients. We can really help our clients a lot in that space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Richard, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic. It's been enlightening to listen to you, and I hope that everyone listening out there today has found the same interest that I have, and I'm just grateful to be part of this industry. It's a fantastic opportunity for our business as well as for every other business wanting to start out in the space. And the other thing is, I know some of the guys might have had some comments. Anyone on Facebook, if there's comments that have come in, I'll address them after this, and I'll get that feedback to you. So, Richard, thank you very much for your time. I really
Stuart,
appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This was an awesome fun. I loved it.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Okay.
so much. Yeah,
Cool.
go off.
Thank you. Cheers.